Welcome everyone to our virtual meeting. Thank you so much for being here. We are so excited that you have joined us here today to discuss the Our Florida Reefs community planning process. During this presentation, you'll learn about Southeast Florida's coral reefs, why they are so valuable, and how you can become part of this effort to help keep them healthy. Before I begin, I would like to thank the hosts of our in-person meetings: the South Florida Water Management District, Indian River State College, Palm Beach County Civic Center, Nova Southeastern University's Oceanographic Center, and Miami-Dade County Libraries. We would also like to thank Adolphus Bush of Baloo Farms and the Marine Animal Rescue Society, who were very generous in donating the refreshments for our in-person meetings. The Southeast Florida Coral Reef Initiative, or SFCRI, is what makes the Our Florida Reefs community planning process possible. It is a collaborative local effort that began in 2004 to better understand and protect our coral reefs. SFCRI is coordinated by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection's Coral Reef Conservation Program and is funded by a cooperative agreement between DEP and the NOAA Coral Program. Additional support for this process has been provided by the DEP Coastal Zone Management Program. Thanks also to all of the staff, partners, and volunteers who put in many hours to make this event possible. And again, many thanks to you all for taking the time to view this presentation today. So let's get started with the program. We have several things we hope to accomplish today. First, that you will discover some new and interesting facts about Southeast Florida's coral reefs. Second, that you will learn about and feel informed about the Our Florida Reefs community planning process. And third, that you will know how to get involved in and are excited to participate in this Our Florida Reefs process. This process is a great opportunity for you to get involved and support a sustainable future for our coral reefs. After viewing this presentation, we invite you to learn more by visiting the topics page on our website, which includes the same topics and information you would be able to see at our open house kiosks at the in-person meetings. These topics include coral and habitat, people and management, water and fish, ecosystem, the Our Florida Reefs community planning process, and our decision support tool. Then you can ask your questions at the Contact Us page on the website and submit your comments using the comment button on our website. To tell you more about why we are here and what is planned, let me introduce Jamie Monty, Manager of the Florida Department of Environmental Protection's Coral Reef Conservation Program, who will be followed by Julio Jimenez, the Fishing, Diving, and Other Uses Program Coordinator for DEP's Coral Program. Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing well. Before we get started, I want to echo Bridget's welcome and thanks to you all for joining us here today. During my part of the presentation, you will learn more about Southeast Florida's coral reefs, why they are so valuable, and what Southeast Florida Coral Reef Initiative, or SFCRI, has been doing to help them. After that, Julio will fill you in on the details of the Our Florida Reefs community planning process. But first, I'd like to pose a question to you. What do our coral reefs do for you? I'd like you to think about that question for the next 20 minutes or so because we're going to come back to it throughout this presentation. So I know many of you are already familiar with coral reefs, but for those who aren't, I'm going to start with some basic information to ensure we're all on the same page. Corals are some of the most unique and oldest living animals found on the planet. Living close to our beaches, they construct massive coral reefs, often called the rainforests of the sea, that support a rich and diverse web of life in our oceans. Corals are animals that range in size from a pinhead to that of a DVD. They can live as individual animals, called polyps, or, like the condos of South Florida, in communities containing thousands of individuals. Most corals grow extremely slowly, adding less than an inch each year to the reef. We know this because, like trees, corals have growth rings. A single community, called a colony, can live for hundreds of years, And in fact, the oldest known coral colony living in southeast Florida, pictured here, is in Hollywood in Broward County, and it began growing in 1694. It's over 300 years old. Our coral reefs are made up of different types of corals. Hard corals, which have calcium-based skeletons similar to our bones, are the primary reef-building corals. New colonies grow on top of old colonies, which over time builds the reef foundation. Soft corals, including sea fans and sea whips, don't have a hard limestone skeleton, so they don't add to the reef foundation. Their flexible skeleton allows them to sway and bend with waves and ocean currents. Marine sponges are also common on our reefs. These diverse and beautiful animals purify the water and provide habitat for a multitude of other important organisms. South Florida's reef ecosystem is also home to hundreds of different species of fish and other animals called invertebrates, like shrimp, anemones, marine snails, and the lobsters pictured here. Florida has a long history of recognizing the importance of its coral reefs, beginning with the designation of John Pennekamp Coral Reef State Park in 1961, the first undersea park in the United States. However, it's only been recently, and through the Southeast Florida Coral Reef Initiative, beginning in 2004, that the northern portion of the Florida Reef Tract has received attention. This northern portion of the Florida Reef Tract is what we call the Southeast Florida region. It extends from the St. Lucie Inlet in Martin County through all of Palm Beach County and Broward County to the northern border of Biscayne National Park in Miami-Dade County. And the red line that you see on this map are those coral reefs that extend parallel to our coast throughout this four-county region. This region was chosen by the Southeast Florida Coral Reef Initiative to focus on because it contains reef ecosystems that are extensive and close to shore. That red line is over 105 miles long, and when you're standing on the beach, you're actually closer to our coral reefs than you are to I-95. CEFCRE also chose this area to focus on because the coral reefs here coexist with an intensely urbanized area with more than 6 million people, or 30% of the state's population, living in these four counties. And CEFCRE also chose this region to focus on because it lacked a coordinated management plan. Our coral reefs are not only a beautiful ecosystem that are home to over 6,000 different organisms, but the reef structure that they form also protects our beaches from waves during storms like Hurricane Sandy. And the waves that you see in that bottom left-hand picture are breaking offshore because of our coral reefs. Without our reefs, those waves would be breaking on the beach, contributing to beach erosion. Our coral reefs also provide food, as they are home or nursery grounds to over 25% of all known marine species, and medicine, with over 50% of all current cancer medications being derived from marine organisms. Our coral reefs also provide year-round recreational opportunities to South Florida residents and visitors alike, and they are vital to our local economy. Yet most people know very little about these amazing animals that create our coral reefs, and what we can all do to make sure they stay healthy and continue providing these valuable services. So I want to take a moment now and ask you to reflect on that question I posed at the beginning of the presentation in light of this benefit information. What benefits do our coral reefs provide to you? You'd be surprised on how much we actually rely on coral reefs, whether we know it or not. Like all animals, corals are limited by their surroundings. The main factors affecting coral growth are temperature, depth, light, salinity, and water quality and currents. There are many different global and local threats that can limit coral growth or even kill corals. For example, increases in global greenhouse gases may increase ocean temperatures, leading to stress and coral bleaching. Just like humans, corals can also get sick, and the black band disease shown in the bottom left picture is caused by a marine bacteria. Invasive species, like this red lionfish, which is originally from the Indo-Pacific region, have spread from the Carolinas throughout the Caribbean, and as they spread, They devour our juvenile local fish species. Another threat to coral reefs includes algae blooms, like this red hairy cyanobacteria in the bottom right picture, which is smothering a hard coral and a soft coral, staghorn coral and sea fan. Without access to sunlight, these corals can die. Now, whether on purpose or accidental, we can all impact our coral reefs as well. Increases in human population lead to increased pollutants that enter our waterways through land-based sources of pollution, such as stormwater runoff, partially treated wastewater outfalls, and our inlets, further degrading the quality of water in the marine environment. And more people living, working, and playing along our coast also leads to more coastal construction, which can be especially problematic for the coral reefs that are so close to shore you can swim to them from the beach. Now, while not all fishing is bad for coral reefs, illegal or harmful fishing practices, like taking more fish than the regulations allow, or certain types of fishing that can damage the reef habitat, can affect the fish that we want to continue fishing for, and the coral reef that provides shelter and food to those fish. Ship groundings and anchor damage can be very destructive to coral reef habitat, and studies show that here in Southeast Florida, reef recovery from this type of damage could take decades if it occurs at all. And other factors that may seem relatively minor, for example, a scuba diver accidentally kicking a coral, can also affect our coral reefs. So each of these factors alone impacts the coral reef's ability to survive, because it makes it more difficult for an injured or stressed coral animal to survive. However, here in Southeast Florida and worldwide, it's the cumulative effect that all of these corals are undergoing all of these threats pretty much all of the time that's so bad for our coral reefs. And it's bad for us as well, because these cumulative threats affect the reef's ability to provide benefits to us, such as the coastal protection, shelter to our fish that become food, medicine, and our tourism-based economy. So what can it look like when coral reefs try to survive cumulative threats over time? We don't have a time series for the Southeast Florida region, but just south of us in the Florida Keys, we do. And in that region, they've lost about 37% of their coral cover since 1996. This time series that I'm going to show shows 100% loss of coral cover over a 20-year period. Now, although this particular species, which is elkhorn coral, is currently not common north of Biscayne National Park, similar declines of this species may have happened in Southeast Florida during a similar time frame. But one way or the other, it's scary to think that an entire reef can disappear in essentially a quarter of a human lifetime. We haven't just seen these trends in coral loss here in Florida, we're seeing them globally as well. In 1995, there was a major worldwide coral bleaching event that resulted in coral mortality on a global scale. And according to the Status of Coral Reefs of the World from 2008, 19% of the world's reefs have already been lost. An additional 15% are seriously threatened with loss in the next 10 to 20 years, and another 20% are under threat of loss in the next 20 to 40 years. So when you add that all together, this means that by the year 2050, we may permanently lose over half of the world's coral reefs. Now, this isn't just a reef hugger statement. Remember those values and benefits that we talked about. This means by the year 2050, half of the world's coastal protection may be gone. Half of the world's reef-based food and medicine may be gone. And clearly that would impact the jobs and economy that we have based on reef tourism here in Southeast Florida. So in response to these events, the nation recognized the value of its coral reefs to our society and our economy and established the U.S. Coral Reef Task Force in 1998 to discuss and plan for the future of our coral reefs. Then in 2000, Congress passed the U.S. Coral Reef Conservation Act, which is a law that provides federal funds to support coral reef conservation. And it's these resources that allowed us to begin a local response here in Southeast Florida by developing the Southeast Florida Coral Reef Initiative, or SFCRE. The SFCRE team is made up of folks from many different groups related to coral reef ecosystems, including non-governmental organizations, academic entities, private businesses, user groups such as fishers, divers, and boaters, other groups such as citizens at large, and government agencies at all three levels, federal, state, and local. This team of people came together to develop and support the implementation of an effective strategy to preserve and protect Southeast Florida's coral reefs, emphasizing balance between resource use and protection in cooperation with all interested parties. SFCRE team members identified the need for basic information about Southeast Florida coral reefs before being able to take action and reduce the threats to our reefs. They did this by getting all of those groups of people at the table, and they identified 140 projects needed to get basic information on Southeast Florida coral reefs, including reef location, health, uses of the reef, threats to the reef, and how to start reducing those threats. Since 2004, SFCRE has been gathering this basic information to better understand Southeast Florida coral reefs and help reduce the threats to them. And this information is available on our topics page. SFCRE has been a leader in helping balance protection with use of Southeast Florida coral reefs through a variety of efforts. And since 2004, we've answered several of those questions, including where are our reefs located? Before 2004, no one knew how much reef was offshore Southeast Florida or what types of habitats we had. SFCRE's reef maps provided the first comprehensive view of the seafloor within our four-county region. What is the health of our reefs? The Southeast Florida Coral Reef Initiative established the first ever region-wide monitoring for coral, water, and fish. How are the reefs being used? SFCRE also had its first ever boating survey, which provided important information about where people go and how they use the reefs, including anchoring pressure, which is pictured in the map here. What are some of the threats to our reefs? Through a program called CFAN, the Southeast Florida Action Network, we've been able to identify threats to our coral reefs with the help of you all, the local community. Through CFAN, citizens can report anything unusual when they're out on the reef. That might be a sign of trouble, which allows us to recognize threats as they occur. We then share this information with the appropriate agencies and, as necessary, work with them to organize a response. This allows us to reduce or eliminate a threat, or at the very least, improve the knowledge about what's happening on our reefs. Southeast Florida Coral Reef Initiative partners have also helped reduce threats by helping pass the Florida Coral Reef Protection Act, which made it illegal to damage Florida's coral reefs. And another way that SFCRE reduces threats is by getting the word out, telling people about our coral reefs, why they're important, and how they benefit us. So you can imagine how hard it is to get the word out when we have more than 6 million people living in our four-county region. But one of the ways that SFCRE focuses on getting the word out is through teacher trainings. And over the last 5 years, we've had more than 400 teachers complete the Southeast Florida Coral Reef Initiative Coral Reef curriculum, and each year they reach out to more than 50,000 students. But some of the most important information we've learned from the SFCRE project so far are the community's perceptions of what's going on with our reefs. A 2006 survey of the main coral reef user groups showed that the majority of those interviewed had an overall negative perception on key resources and conditions. They felt that coral reefs, water quality, and fisheries had declined the most. And as these resources have declined, user groups have changed their locations, resulting in increased user conflict, meaning more people are using the same reef area. And nearly 60% of respondents believe that if management doesn't change, resource conditions will continue to decline. So this is why we are all here today, launching the Southeast Florida Coral Reef Initiative's Our Florida Reefs community planning process. SFCRE has been collecting information for the past 9 years, and now we're ready for the next phase, to take action. We've heard from the community that you don't want your coral reefs to get worse, and you want to do something about these threats. The Our Florida Reefs process is asking you, what kind of change do you want? What type of action do you want to take so that we can all continue to use and enjoy our coral reefs now and into the future? So I'm going to take that question from before and turn it back around on you. What can you do for our coral reefs? Our Florida Reefs needs your voice to plan for our future. And with that, I will turn the presentation over to Julio, who's going to fill you in on the details about this 4-step Our Florida Reefs community planning process.
Our Florida Reefs is our action towards accomplishing that goal of creating this effective strategy for the future use and protection of our reefs. It's a community planning process for Southeast Florida's coral reefs. But what exactly do we mean by that? When we say community, we mean everyone who has some stake in our reefs. Whether that's a fisher, diver, or anyone else, it doesn't matter. This process includes all groups of people who are interested in our reefs and how we manage them. Like Jamie just said, the last 9 years we've collected a lot of data showing changes to our reef ecosystem. But we've also been hearing it from you all as well. So this effort needs to include the whole community. When we say planning, we're talking about bringing together all of this data, information, knowledge, expertise, thoughts and concerns to the table to begin developing this collaborative strategy. But without a process, all of this information and data would lead us nowhere. It provides us an order on how to get all this information together and reach our final goal of developing a strategy that balances the use and protection of our corals, now and in the future. You're already taking part in the first step of this process, our community meetings. The goal of these meetings, as stated at the beginning, is to inform you about Southeast Florida's reefs and about the Our Florida Reefs process and how you can get involved. But this first step is more than just these meetings. It's about getting this information out to as many people as possible in the community and getting them involved. So you probably heard of these meetings through either a mailed flyer, one of our other promotional items, possibly through email or social media, or hopefully from a friend or family member. Now we need your help. We need you to take these items and help us get the word out to folks, either about upcoming meetings in their area or just about the process in general and how they can get involved. Step 2 in the process is the formation of these community working groups who will be working on these recommended actions that are the foundation for this strategy. This is really where your voice is needed and plays a huge role. SEFCRI and its partners throughout Southeast Florida have diligently been working on answering many of these unknowns over the last 9 years. Like Jamie said before, we now have so much data on many of these topics that we didn't have before. The Our Florida Reefs process is about giving the community the opportunity to voice their recommendations for how to better manage our reefs, using all of this information we've collected, as well as your personal knowledge and experiences to help shape and develop these recommendations. So who are these groups? Groups will be composed of 20 to 25 representatives for many of the same categories found in SEFCRI that you saw before. These representatives will apply for open seats. Applications can be found on the website. You can either fax or email applications to us by July 31st. The applications are short. Their focus is to ensure that applicants are truly representatives of the seat for which they are applying, because they will be expected to keep their groups updated on what's going on in the community working groups, and at the same time, sharing any information coming from others in his or her community. For example, if John says he represents recreational fishermen in West Palm Beach, we want to make sure John actually makes a good choice to rep this group because he communicates with other fishermen frequently, fishes the area frequently, etc. As the applications roll in, these working groups will form. The number of groups will vary depending on the number of people that apply, as long as the numbers stay balanced. So, if we have a lot of people, we may have one group per county. If we have less people, then we may have two groups, one for the North region and one for the South. What will these working groups be doing? Like I said earlier, working with all this information is not easy. But in planning our Florida Reefs, we've tried to focus on ways to make it easier for working groups to meet their goals and work with this information. They'll have access to SEFCRE reports and data, along with reports, information, and data from other partners throughout the Southeast Florida region and also throughout the world. Our Florida Reefs is also developing an online tool which will help them map this data and be able to visualize it to help in their work. They'll be working with the SEFCRE team, and a group of technical experts will provide expertise and guidance on these recommendations that will further help their development. Not everyone can or will want to be on a community working group, but will still want to play a role in what these groups are working on. We've got you covered. In fact, your continued participation throughout this process is super important. Like we said before, one of the main things we're looking for out of our community working group members is how well they represent you and how they communicate with you. Our Florida Reefs wants to make it easy for you to stay involved throughout this part of the process. You'll be able to access our website, www.ourfloridareefs.org. There, you will be able to keep up to speed with these meetings and their results. You'll also be able to comment at any time. Finally, you'll also have access to the same tools the working groups will be using, such as reports, data, even the online mapping tool. The mapping tool not only will allow you to see the information working groups are working with, they'll also have a couple of survey activities where the information you provide will serve as real-time data for working groups. The third step in this process is another set of meetings, similar to the one we're having today, except we'll be presenting on working group results. The goal of these meetings isn't to present something new or unexpected. We hope that you all stay involved with what's going on in your working groups. But this will provide the community another opportunity to provide any feedback on the work by the groups. Finally, the fourth step, our future. This work, these recommendations, which are finalized and supported by a large and diverse community, will serve as the foundation of a collaborative reef management strategy for Southeast Florida. As Jamie pointed out earlier, when it comes to threats, the cumulative impacts of multiple threats outweighs the sum of these individual threats. The same goes for management actions. By creating a strategy where the actions work together, it adds value to it. SEFCRE and the working groups will work together with the different management agencies that oversee different parts of the reef ecosystem to implement these management recommendations. By being involved in this part of the process, SEFCRE and the working groups will be emphasizing the need to maintain this collaborative strategy and how each part works together. By working closely with representatives from the different agencies who collectively play a part in managing our reefs, these recommendations will have a strong backbone of support from all. Like we mentioned before, you've taken the first step of this process with us. And today, we need your help already. You're here because you care about our reefs in some way, and we thank you for taking the time and effort for being here. But starting today, we want to hear from you. We want to hear about what you think about this process and about how we can make it easier for you to take part in it and want to take part in it. Ask us questions and give us your thoughts by using the Contact Us form at the bottom of each webpage. Submit a comment to be part of the official meeting record. Make sure you let us know what you think today. Use the comment button on our website. You'll be able to see comments on our website at a later date. Spread the word about upcoming community meetings in other parts, or tell your friends and family they can follow along on the website as well, where they'll find this presentation and other resources as well. Speaking of the website, remember to check it frequently, www.ourfloridareefs.org. There, you'll find news on reef ecosystem topics, an events page where you can follow our meetings, and community working groups, a resources page filled with reports, information, and other things, and you'll be able to register with our online community to receive periodic updates as well. This summer, on our website, you'll also find our interactive mapping tool and be able to use it to view the same data being used in the working groups, as well as provide some information to help working groups. Finally, fill out an application from our website to join a community working group, or share that application with someone you think would make a good community working group member.
Thank you, Julio. It really is amazing how much our coral reefs offer, and this is such a great opportunity for all of us to join in an effort to keep them productive and healthy. As I mentioned before, now you have the opportunity to learn more by visiting the topics pages on our website, which include the same topics and information you would be able to see at open house kiosks at the in-person meetings. These topics include coral and habitat. At the Coral and Habitat Topics page, you can learn why corals are so valuable and what threats they face. You'll also learn about how coral reefs are closely linked to nearby coastal habitats like seagrass beds, mangroves, and estuaries. Water and fish. Florida is known for its incredible fishing opportunities. Visit the Water and Fish Topics pages to learn how reducing pollution can keep coastal waters clean, benefiting our coral reefs, our fish populations, and the regional economy. People and management. We love our reefs, and we use them for all kinds of activities: fishing, diving, boating, and more. At the People and Management Topics pages, you can learn more about how we manage these types of activities to keep our coral reefs healthy. Ecosystem. The Ecosystem Topics page illustrates how adding all of the components above, coral, water, fish, habitat, people, and management, all combine to form a reef community, or ecosystem. At the Ecosystem Topics page, you will learn what we are doing to keep our coral reef ecosystem balanced and productive. The Our Florida Reefs Topics page contains information on the Southeast Florida Coral Reef Initiative and the Our Florida Reefs community planning process, with links to our working group application. And finally, check out the Decision Support Tool Topics page to learn more about the mapping tool being developed to support the Our Florida Reefs community planning process. You'll find out when the tool will be available, what types of information it offers, and how you can access it online. Once you've had a chance to look through this information, please ask your questions at the Contact Us page on our website and submit your comments using the comment button on our website. All written comments will be part of the public record and will be available on the website at the end of each month for you to look through. They will also go to the community working groups for them to consider as they're coming up with recommendations. So on behalf of Julio and Jamie and the rest of the Southeast Florida Coral Reef Initiative team, we thank you again for viewing this presentation today in support of our Florida reefs. The future of our reefs depends on you. Thank you.